Good evening and welcome back to Prime of Midlife. It's Friday evening and this evening we are talking wants and needs. I was going through just stoking about the web when I was at work. When I scrolled down, there was like news and so many adverts, and I was like, "Oh, that's quite cool." And it sort of occurred to me because I was like, "Oh, I really want that. I would really, really like that." And I almost had a list of things that I could want. Um, and I have to say, I did actually treat myself because it was such a messy week at work, and Mandy and I both agreed it was horrible. And I thought, do you know something? I am treating myself, and I got some Lush bath bombs. And I know it is complete frippery, and I know it is completely not anything that I need, and it is completely something that I want. But over the last few months, I have not done that very often. So I ordered myself some Lush bath bombs. And on one hand, I felt really bad because it's like, there's people struggling to feed themselves and I'm buying Lush bath bombs, for goodness sake. But I don't think, I'm very conscious of what I do. The channel donates to good causes. I always get, like my shopping, I never ever get from the food banks or anything like that, or even your community fridges and things. The time where you saw me, I did it at Grief Connections. I said, here's what I got. I put that back. At the Muirton Community Fridge, I put it back and donated £100. So in some ways, it's like my conscience is clear for spoiling myself with some Lush bath bombs. But it made me think of just in general, there's this whole world out there where their whole reason for being is to make us spend money on things that we don't need, we just want. And don't get me wrong, um, I don't need any more fluffy blankies. If I happen to acquire some, I'm not going to complain. I probably don't need fluffy socks. If I happen to acquire some, I'm not going to complain. There's a lot of things that I don't particularly need, but if someone offers to give me them, like Mandy has acquired a pressure cooker that she's never going to use, and she's like, would you like it? And I thought, absolutely. Now, I don't need a pressure cooker, but it would still be useful. So I'm not going to say no when something is freely given like that. And I think that's a good sort of benchmark for us to try and reduce the consumerism, to try and reduce this fashion. I mean, as you know, I work as an admin in a construction company. Now, when I first started, the most popular paint colour was polished pebble. Absolutely. Everyone had their home in polished pebble. It was all the tones of grey. And now there's a fight back against that. And there's a lot of wallpaper coming in because that's the fashion. That's what people are saying. Oh, look at this. Isn't it gorgeous? You really, really should have this. It would make your room look so much better. My room is for living in. As long as it doesn't look bad, I really don't care. And certainly I don't need throw cushions or pictures on the wall. If I have some, Mum had some pictures on the wall. I have used them. Um, but nowadays, with the way the budgets are tightening, that's something I would want, not something I would need. And I think it makes sense to sort of give yourself a list of, really, write down everything you want, everything you would like to have, and then start whittling it down. And it doesn't have to be absolutely down to the basics, because, oh, there's the dishwasher. I had to put it onto a deep clean, so it's off again. Um, you know, if you are being frugal in other ways, if you want a beautiful piece of artwork for your wall, then get it. I don't think we should absolutely go down to bare bones if we don't have to. And it may be that, yeah, you can't afford that big bit of beautiful artwork for your wall, but you might be able to afford something from a charity shop. You might find something there. Or you might find something at the local craft fair. We had a couple artists at one that we did locally for Christmas. Um, one I wasn't that keen on, the other one I was like, oh, really, really like that. I don't have a room that reflects arty stuff. Do you know, my room is very, very lived in. My whole house is very, very lived in. But yeah, I think there's definitely something to be said for having a look at what you want, what you need, and what little treat you can have to yourself. Because if you can treat yourself, I definitely think you should. Because otherwise, it's just a thankless task doing this daily grind. And I think we all get fed up of it every so often. So whether your treat to yourself is putting the water heater on to have a hot bath, because, you know, it's not cheap, or getting yourself some bath bombs, or getting yourself some chocolate biscuits, or getting yourself the slightly more expensive clothing so it doesn't wear out as quick. Just something. And the rest of the time you can go with what you need. But I do think it's so, so difficult nowadays because we are bombarded with all these commercials on the TV, the movies, the computer. You know, any magazines have got so many adverts in them. I've stopped buying them because it's just page after page of adverts. And that used to be one of my treats when Kathleen was young, when I was proper skint. Would be I'd buy myself a magazine. And I used to buy the Prima magazine because it gave you recipes, it gave you craft things, gave you things to do with the kids. And then there were so many adverts. And I remember Mum, what was it she got? She got something like Good Housekeeping. Do you know, the first 3 pages were adverts. It was ridiculous. So we stopped buying magazines. And most of them, if you've got a library locally, then you can get your magazines in the library. So yeah, that's my thing for today is, you know, wants, needs and treats. Because if we're working this hard, putting all this stuff together, reducing waste, preserving food, repurposing things, we all need to spoil ourselves every so often. So I hope you've had a good Friday, and I will catch you later.